Sorry, everybody. We'll get started in just a moment, just confirming a couple of attendees. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular board business meeting on Thursday, November 6th, 2025. My name is Blake Peterson. I'm serving as board chair right now. I believe that Holly Regal will be joining us virtually tonight. She's serving as vice chair. Also, Brenna Peterbaugh, online director, Sean Farns, Chris Howitt, Heather Coleman Cox, and David Ligatich. So we have a full board tonight for the time being. With that, I'd ask Sean if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and for our meeting agenda tonight, board, we have a lot of interested parties, so I would entertain a motion, but I would request that we move item 19, which is our OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee positions vote till December. We don't owe those votes until December 15th, and that will help us speed along an agenda. So,
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the meeting as presented with the removal of item number 19 to the December 4th meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, moved by Chris, second by Sean. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? I think for now we'll assume 5-0. Okay. All right, next up is land acknowledgement. Chris, would you mind?
We acknowledge that the land where Gresham-Barlow School District is located rests on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, bands of the Chinook, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We also acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous Native American families today. As settlers and guests on these lands, we respect the work of Native nations, leaders, and families, and make ongoing efforts to center Indigenous knowledge, creativity, resilience, and resistance. We consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here today.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Next, we have citizens' requests to the board. So time has been set aside on the agenda for citizens' requests to the board. There's an opportunity for the board to listen and learn from the community. Board members are not able to respond to public comments during the meeting, but appreciate hearing your input. Public comments can be submitted in writing before the meeting or given in person during the meeting. Pursuant to Oregon House Bill 2563A, the meeting is also presented online to allow for virtual public attendance at the meeting. If you're a member of the community and wish to provide a written public comment, please use the citizens' comments to the board form, which looks like this in the back. as a few of you noticed. And email your comments to the board secretary at avery4, AVERY4 at gresham.k12.or.us by 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. If anyone in the audience wishes to address the board in person this evening, there are yellow citizens requests to the board forms, one that I showed you on the table in the back of the room, right back there. Please complete a form and give it to the board secretary, Ms. Avery. So we do have a number of folks who provided comment in advance and a couple who have provided comment here. And so I'm going to lump them by general topic. I think we also may have somebody online who wants to provide comment. If that's the case and you're in the attendees, please raise your hand if you provided that. Okay. So the first group, we have a collection of folks from Gresham High School who general topic is over copy count or copy count restrictions. So I'm going to ask Carissa Slack. Are you here? Okay. Would you mind being first up? You can come right up here and we'll get this mic turned on for you. And if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself, your relationship to the district. And we asked for 3 minutes. And so I'll ask folks to keep track of that and I'll just give you warnings. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
So, good evening, board. I'm Carissa Slack. I am a parent of a kid in our elementary school and also a staff member at Gresham High School. So I'm going to kind of speak to how this affects both of those roles of mine. So as a parent, I worry that because staff members only have 1,000 copies a month to make copies, that's going to affect my child's education. 1,000 copies, if you're talking 20 days in a month, is 50 copies a day on average. There's about 22 kids in the class, and front and back count as 2 copies. So it's essentially 1 piece of paper a day per kindergarten student that's allocated to them, which means the teacher either needs to use technology to supplement that, which is not really age appropriate for 6-year-olds. They're not supposed to be on technology. Or they need to use any given workbook, but they can't do like crafts or activities that require printing on paper because there's no paper to print. And so I just really want you guys to think about how we're using or how we're cutting the budget and where we're cutting the budget to where it's not affecting our kids' education as much. There's definitely got to be other places that we can do that. And then as a teacher, the copy counts are inequitable because every person has 1,000 no matter what your role is in the building. So if you have 0 students, you get 1,000 copies. If you have 220 students, you get 1,000 copies. And so people who have more kids in their classroom can print less for those kids than other people. And so it's causing issues with that. It's causing issues with counseling not being able to print a schedule for a new kid because they're out of copies. It's meaning that teachers can't print a copy of the notes for kids on IEPs to meet their accommodations because they're out of copies. It's forcing kids to do more work on Chromebooks, but we don't have Chromebooks. Like, for instance, I used to be a math teacher. We don't have Chromebooks that can actually do math. Like, they have to use the trackpad to try to do a math problem. They can't write on the screens. They can't do any of that kind of stuff. So it just causes more frustration for kids in a subject that's already super frustrating for them. So anyways, I'm just asking either we eliminate the copy counts or we at least adjust the policies. Right now, if a staff member has extra copies, they can't roll over to the next month. So allowing rollover or pooling of the copies. So like your building has 20 people, there's that many copies, and then being able to allocate it that way. Because right now it's everybody has 1,000 at the end of the month. It's just gone. So what it's causing is people like running around the building. Hey, you don't have kids. Can I use your copies so that I can do this? And then the print shop is the other option, but it's taking about a month to get things back, which is not a reasonable amount of time when you're talking teaching lessons that are helping, being appropriate to what kids need and adjusting for needs. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris. Next, do we have Stoffel Strange? Thanks for being here. If you could, same thing, introduce yourself, help us know your connection and looking for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm Stoffel Strange. I teach at Gresham High School. I teach physical science to ninth graders. And so this, I'm just gonna read straight from this. So sorry if I'm not making a bunch of eye contact. I really appreciate y'all. This is an edited version of my submitted written comments to the board. It has been edited for time reasons, but my comments are being spoken to increase accessibility, but are meant to be read. There's a list of scientific articles and primary resources linked at the end of my written comments that provide additional qualitative and quantitative data related to my comments shared here. Currently, I teach 149 freshman students who are all new to Gresham High School. This is the first time many of them have been asked to keep track of assignments across 7 classes that all hold a significant level of rigor. Each class challenges students every day with new activities and assignments. According to the new district mandate, I have access to print 1,000 single-sided papers per month. That means that for about 20 to 24 school days every month, each student can get 6 single-sided assignments. If any assignment takes more than 1 page, that costs me an additional copy. That is, double-sided papers are 2 copy counts. Every month, a student in my science class needs anywhere from 12 to 25 single-sided papers for the assignments we are doing. That estimate does not include quizzes, tests, or daily warm-up papers. By implementing the copy count, the district is creating a resource-scarce environment for both staff and students. I have linked multiple studies to my written comments suggesting that poverty harms cognition. The reality is that resource scarcity imposes a heavy attention tax that exhausts the mental calories students need to support new learning. This slows their ability to uptake new information as well as shallows deeper critical thinking. By ignoring the plethora of research suggesting what has been laid out here, district officials are making a decision that directly harms GBSD learning environments on a daily basis. This manufactured resource scarcity leads to, among other things, added teacher stress and anxiety around planning and access to materials, a bottlenecking of assignment pacing, and ultimately a lack of trust with district leaders who refuse to seriously consider teacher input. This poverty mindset quickly trickles down to the students' behaviors and attitudes. With no margin for error, teachers have less grace to provide students. In the end, this creates a massively negative downstream effect on everyone who works inside of the school building. This copy limit was not put in place to improve equity or fairness in the classroom. Our copy counts are completely arbitrary. They do not roll over each month. This decision was not made to improve the attitude and environment inside of GBSD schools. It is an effort to cut corners financially. Personally, I've had to resort to printing multiple assignments on a single page in order to meet copy counts. I've had to make the visual supports, spaces for answering questions, and grade level text smaller on in-class assignments, quizzes, and tests. Because these supports are harder to access and significantly more disjointed, we are weakening the impact of these supports for the students who need it most. Those who are not in the classroom for 8 hours a day are either not acknowledging or simply do not care that this redirection of funds is directly harming our most vulnerable student populations. By carrying on with such arbitrary limits, we are widening the equity gap rather than minimizing it. Teachers have been drilled repeatedly about the importance of placing students at the center of learning. The limit on print copies unintentionally punishes students and teachers. It pushes those who should be centered out toward the edges of relevance. It functions to stifle creativity, it is restrictive, and promotes only an environment of scarcity. District officials need to acknowledge the mistake that was made when they put this copy count limit in place and reverse the decision so that we can all move forward as a GBSD community. Without this change, our students, especially our most vulnerable, highest need students, will continue down a path of increased learning loss, a trend that will continue to negatively impact our community today, tomorrow, and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Stoffel. Next, Molly Kearns-Clapp. Not here. Okay. We do have your letter. And Shirley Trummel. All right, you're all right. Okay, we do have your letter, and so it's available. And just for public reference, all of these letters are available for review. If you go to the district website, you look under board information, you can go to our agenda, and you can go under citizens requests of the board, and you can see all of these as well. So, with the exception of the ones that were provided today. Okay, next we'll move to We'll move to Hogan Cedars. Samantha McWilliams, are you here? And Samantha, are you speaking on behalf of the whole PTC, or are there others who are hoping to speak today?
Behalf of the whole.
Of the group. Okay, well, thank you for being here. Same thing, if you could just introduce yourself, your relationship to the district, and appreciate it.
This light on me, and it's, oh, yeah, there, sorry. My name is Samantha McWilliams. I am a parent, a volunteer, and a substitute teacher at the district. My kiddos go to Hogan Cedars Elementary School, and I'm here tonight representing the Hogan Cedars Elementary PTSO. Am I ready? Can I go now? Sorry. We are a community tasked with providing a safe and supportive educational environment for our students. As a community, it is time to recognize that many students need more or different support than they are getting. And while this is a multifaceted issue, insufficient support is hurting all students. All members of the community need to take action so that students throughout the district feel safe and happy and engaged in learning when they are at school. We are here to advocate for all students and offer our partnership. We strongly encourage all parents to share their children's experiences, not as complaints, but as vital data points, to inform this necessary change. When behavioral situations occur, the response can fail to account for the impact on bystanders. When a student is present during a disruptive or aggressive incident, their psychological safety is immediately compromised. This is not a passive experience. It triggers a stress response that makes it difficult for them to focus, trust their environment, and fully engage in learning. By failing to address this fully, we inadvertently create a climate where many students are forced to cope with low-grade anxiety, leading to frustration and disengagement. We recognize the immense work the Gresham-Barlow School District has put into developing equitable behavioral policies. We applaud these efforts. However, a major systemic gap exists. Individualized systems of support often rely on specialized behavioral research and expertise that our frontline staff, the teachers, educational assistants, principals, secretaries, and even custodians may not possess. Yet they are tasked with managing extreme behavioral situations without the necessary tools or specialized support immediately available. At a recent meeting with the district leadership, we learned about an increase in training and discussed possible solutions for addressing the effects of behavioral situations on other students. We are encouraged by the discussion we had, but training will take time. The social emotional health of all students should be a priority while that training is taking place. We urge the Gresham-Barlow School Board and district administration to work towards changes in two critical areas: specialized support and structured bystander care. Increase the number of highly trained behavioral specialists available to immediately support students with critical incidents. This ensures teachers, EAs, secretaries, and others are not left trying to manage situations beyond their training, and provides the students with the type of support they really need, which may prevent extreme behavioral situations. Next, implement tracking of clear, structured, and immediate mechanisms such as restorative check-ins or dedicated counseling time to ensure all students present during an incident are helped with processing the event, regulating their stress response, and restoring their sense of safety. As a community, let us commit to addressing the needs of all students, ensuring that no child is left to silently carry the emotional burden of classroom disruption, aggression, bullying, and sometimes violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Our next, I might have, yeah, did I miss Todd Treudel? He's not here. Okay. His comment is also available online, and I think it's related to the Gresham High School, if I recall. Okay, next, we have one that's submitted today. Candace Burton, are you from Gresham Arthur Academy? Are you here? Okay. Thanks, Candace.
Hello, Superintendent Klinger, Chairman Peterson, and members of the board. I'm Candace Barton, principal at Gresham Arthur Academy, home of the GA Lions. I'm proud to represent one of the charter schools that JBSD sponsors, and as such, I know the deep commitment that Gresham-Barlow has to meeting the individual needs of each student. Through the years, we've seen that there are many students who benefit from and need our instructional model that Arthur Academy provides, and we thank you for being our educational partner for 19 years. The information I share tonight has previously been sent in a letter to district leadership and school board members, and we've shared it a few times over the last couple of years, updating it as the years have moved on. The pass-through funds we're currently receiving, 80% of the school funds per student, are no longer meeting our needs, and we're at a point in which something has to change. This is why we requested an audit a couple of years ago. And in order to have an informed dialogue around funding, it's important for you and us to see how much it costs the district to sponsor us. The audit that Reynolds School District did several years ago and our own experience leads us to believe that it does not cost the district 20% of each student's state funds to do this. In fact, Reynolds found it cost them less than 8% to do this, and they've passed through 92% of the state school funds to our Arthur Academy and Reynolds School District for several years now. We're requesting this audit be completed as soon as possible so that informed discussions can occur. We fully understand that money is tight everywhere, and yet this money should be following the students that it's intended for, not to staff other schools and help fund other programs in the district. We're asking for a very basic level of funding in order for us to fully function in the role we've partnered with you to provide. As a charter school that has been running well on its own for 19 years, it's easy to forget about us. We're often out of your day-to-day thoughts and minds, which is a good thing because we're able to do successfully what we do without causing a bunch of problems. However, our need is significant right now, and we don't want to be forgotten. I've asked our GAA families to start showing up at board meetings in small groups. We have a little bit bigger one today than I thought, but just to remind you that we're here and we're doing great things, and we don't want a big commotion or fuss, but we just want to remind you that we're here and we're part of this community. So we ask that you complete the audit as soon as possible and seriously consider the request to bump our pass-through funding rate to 90% so we can continue to partner with you to meet the individual needs of each student. Again, we're not asking for something unreasonable. We're just asking that the funding follows the students that it's intended for. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
And I set a goal to keep the topics organized, and I failed at my goal. So Brooke Bowles, you provided a comment as well, related to Hogan Cedars. Thanks for being here, Brooke.
Hi. My name is Brooke Bowles, and I am a special educational assistant in the LE1 classroom at Hogan Cedars. I am also a parent. Two of our girls have already graduated through Barlow, and our last one is graduating this year. I'm going to kind of read because time is limited, and I have statements from other staff that didn't want to be named or apart, so just bear with.
Okay, if you can make sure those get.
Yep,
or-
she's already got them.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yep,
Sorry.
it's all in
Thanks.
one lump. Okay, I have worked in the district since 2013. I've spent the last 12 years at Hogan Cedars. Our family has been connected to this school since 2008. All three of our daughters attended the school, like I said. There's been many changes in the building since 2008, and this year it's been devastating to see where we're at. I just am here tonight to try to accurately describe what this year has been like and what Hogan Cedars is like on a daily basis. Education is really difficult right now nationwide. I don't want you to think that I am here to echo what has already been said, because that would be giving you a false impression of what is actually happening in our building. Because of my job, I am not out of the classroom very often, and it's mind-blowing to me that in the last week I have witnessed the following: a staff member being attacked in an office that a student is still actively destroying twice, our school library destroyed on a daily basis, not just once, multiple times. The book library that staff use for groups is also destroyed on a daily basis, multiple times. One day, a student who needed to use the elevator couldn't get to it because the boxes of books had been thrown all over the hallway. It took 2 adults and 3 children 15 minutes to clean that mess up. 2 different staff members being punched in the face, unprovoked and unexpected. What we say, too many children to count, being punched, kicked, or pushed, again, unprovoked and unexpected. I want to add that these are not instances where kids are just being kids and goofing around. These are aggressive and intentional violent acts against other students. Nearly all of those instances were with kindergarten and first grade students. Multiple 5-year-olds repeatedly cursing obscenities at staff and other students every day, not just once or twice. It happens all day long. I've seen children sobbing because they were a target of aggression or obscenities, or just because of what they're seeing and are having to be a part of, unwillingly, I might add. Kids are scared. School is supposed to be a safe and nurturing environment. We don't have that anymore. Students and staff are being traumatized by the behaviors happening in the building. They are also being traumatized by the violence happening in our building. I see the amazing people I have worked with for years deflated and hopeless. There are staff and students who are being attacked every single day. And I want to repeat that, every single day, not once, multiple times. I'm sorry. Students are running around the building all day long, sometimes in groups. They run into pods, screaming, trying to get into classroom, which disrupts the learning of 4 to 5 classes every single time. Students are destroying bulletin boards and students' artwork to the point where art isn't even hung up anymore. Students are damaging furniture, writing all over the walls. They're throwing desks, chairs, books, or landline phones, many of which have been broken. I saw one that was completely shattered. They're destroying whole classrooms and offices, and we now have to keep doors locked that we never had to before. Room clears have become a regular occurrence, and I will tell you from experience that room clears can be very scary for children, especially younger students. There's nothing more devastating than to see a child who is frightened to be at school. All of our classes are facing many challenges, but I want to highlight kindergarten because the numbers astound me. We have 29, give or take a couple, students on IEPs, and we only have 3 classes. 10 of those kids are still in pull-ups. I don't understand how that's acceptable with no extra support. I'm here tonight begging you to please don't just hear us, but see us. Spend a day in our building. See for yourself what is going on. Don't come for a photo op or a quick meeting. Actually stay the day. We need you to see all of us, students and staff. You need to see the faces of the students who are having to witness violence in their classroom. You need to see the faces of the frightened students who are trying to get out of their classroom because it's no longer safe. You need to see the faces of the staff at the end of the day, or really any part of the day. You need to see how little learning is actually happening because of all the behaviors that continue to happen. You could talk budget all day long, but at the end of the day, would you rather pay out money to create the safer schools students and staff deserve, or would you rather pay out a ridiculous higher amount when you're hit with a lawsuit? Which scenario benefits our students? We have students with significant behavioral needs and they are not getting the support they need. You are failing these children, and you are also failing the children who are in the classes with these violent behaviors because they are losing learning time and being traumatized at the same time. There are no consequences or accountability for kids anymore, and they know it. They rule the school. I'll end my personal statement with these 2 things. I was asked this week how long we have to put up with this abuse, and that's a question to you. How long is too long? And then the last thing is, a kindergarten student came to school one day and scanned the room. They asked their teacher if a particular student was going to be at school today, and the answer was no. The child's face said it all when it went from concern to calm. That is not what education should be, but it's what it has become. Another staff member said at Hogan Cedars, it seems as though students now run the school. The halls, bulletin boards, and materials are destroyed on a regular basis. Students' artwork can no longer be displayed as it is destroyed. Staff are getting hit, kicked, punched, and swore at by even the youngest students, and this is all before 9 a.m. I have personally been punched in the face, the arm, or the stomach, and witnessed coworkers getting kicked and punched. Just this week, a student twisted a teacher's lanyard around her neck, attempting to strangle her, and the student was still at school the next morning, running around destroying the halls with no consequence. If this happened outside of the school walls, law enforcement would be called and serious actions would happen. Students are no longer coming to school with smiles and excitement. They are now walking in with fear in their eyes, some with even tears. They are being traumatized by the behaviors around them. Witnessing an entire class run into another class because of a room clear and students having fear on their face while clenching their belongings, worried the student may destroy them, is heartbreaking. When will it stop? When will it be a safe learning environment? When will students feel safe coming to class again? What needs to happen and how many of us need to get injured before real serious actions are taken? Another statement was, our school has become an unsafe place for students and staff. There are no consequences for students who engage in dangerous and inappropriate actions. We are constantly having room clears, and kids are literally running around the school all day, destroying property and creating an atmosphere where no one can learn. Kids and staff are constantly in a fight, flight, freeze mode. This is absolutely unacceptable, and it is unfair to the kids and staff who are being traumatized. This is
Brooke.
the last one.
Yeah, I understand. Look, we're at about 6, 7 minutes at this point, which I'm sorry, that was probably traumatizing for some staff right there. I did not intend that.
Yeah,
Your,
I just beg of you to please come to our school and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very hard to have to witness, to have to see people being injured.
thank you, Brooke. I just want to confirm, Sarah, we have all of those staff submissions.
So we do, I was just notified, it looks like, Cyrus. So he had submitted one that did not get notified to me. So if we wanted to.
Sorry,
allow
are you
him-
here to talk about Gresham as well? Okay, yeah, come on up.
Sorry about it, sir.
No,
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Klinger, and other members of the district. My name is Cyrus Harshfield. I'm a chemistry teacher at Gresham High School. I'm coming to you tonight to express my frustration with our reduced copy counts that teachers across the district are experiencing this year. I have the honor of teaching a dual credit class called AP Chemistry. With help of a program called Willamette Promise, I get to offer my students college level chemistry credits, a field trip on campus with a lab day in a college classroom, and the potential for even more credits if they choose to take the AP exam. It's truly an incredible opportunity and a first for me in my 20+ years of teaching high school science. Western Oregon University is kind enough to provide me with the required exams and labs. All I have to do is teach the curriculum. Should be easy enough, right? Teachers often talk about a strategy they use called backwards planning. A benefit of teaching this dual credit class is I get to see all the college exams before the students do. This means I'm afforded an opportunity to adequately prepare them until I run out of copies. I have 36 amazing students in this class. It's full, more bodies than I have desks. I love it. The kids are thriving, even with a large class size. What I don't love is making copies for 36 students. We're finishing Unit 2 right now, atoms in the periodic table, so that means we're gearing up for an exam. Let me break down my nightmare. I have a required test to give. It's 2 double-sided pages from Western Oregon University. It costs me 4 copies per student. They need a periodic table and necessary formulas. It has to be a fresh copy in case they write something on it. The college calls that test security, so that costs me 2 copies per student. I'm not allowed to write on the exams when I grade them because they have to be scanned and submitted to Western Oregon at the end of the year, which means I need a separate score sheet which costs me 1 copy per student. If you're keeping track, I'm already up to 252 copies, which is 25% of my monthly allowance for 1 single day of AP chemistry. But wait, there's more. There are required labs within the curriculum to go along with the tests. The first lab is 3 double-sided pages, 6 copies per student. The second lab is 2.5 double-sided pages, 5 copies per student. That's another 396 copies just for a few days of activities. This is just the required component from Western Oregon University. Remember that backwards planning I was talking about earlier? I decided it'd be a great idea to make a study guide for this test. My students have been working on it this week. I really hope it helps them earn that college credit. Uh-oh, it was a piece of paper double-sided, cost me another 72 copies. In case you weren't keeping track, I'm up to 720 total copies, leaving me less than 300, or approximately 28% of my copy balance remainder for the month. We haven't even talked about the other classes I teach. We're supposed to take a test next week in regular chemistry. That's going to be 2 pages, double-sided, 4 copies per student, but I have 115 students this time, not 36. If I run out of copies, we might have to wait and take our test in December when my copy count resets. Thank you for your time.
Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. And I recognize the level of emotion and courage and resolve and conviction that it takes to come here. And I want to acknowledge the challenges that are here. And this is always an awkward exchange because the board, we don't sit there and ask back and forth questions. But I will just follow up on a few points as related to the Gresham High School copy counts. I perceive that the board probably could use some supplemental information here. And so I'd ask the superintendent to take that and board communicate directly with the superintendent if you have a specific piece of information that you would like. And we'll try to get it onto a work session here soon, okay? As it relates to Hogan Cedars, thank you for the invite, Brooke and PTC, and thank you for the way that you've engaged this. I know that you've engaged with district staff. I look forward to hearing from district staff what the product of some of those engagements are and ways that we can be supportive either through policy or as we approach a new budget season. I know the rest of the board would feel the same way. Gresham Arthur Academy, thank you for the way that you've engaged. And I've lost Candace. Where you at, Candace? Oh, that's why. Hi, Candace. Well, thank you for all for attending, and Candace for being here. Sarah.
Sorry. It sounds like there were 2 others from Gresham Arthur Academy that also submitted comments.
Oh,
I don't know if
did we have others from Gresham Arthur Academy who would like to present? Okay, then I'll save my comments about what we're going to do with Gresham Arthur Academy until after you have a chance to present. So are those provided here to the board? Or
I think all 3 of them were
oh,
together.
were they oh, I'm sorry, they were. Thank you for your grace. Crystal Sweeney, are you? Thank you, Crystal.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Sweeney, and I'm both a parent and a staff member at Gresham Arthur Academy. I've had 2 children go through this school, and I've seen how this model of education sets them up to succeed. I chose a smaller school setting and charter because I myself as a child was let down by a different school district nearby and wanted different for my kids. Our teachers know every child by name, connect, and make sure each child is valued. In my time on staff, I've witnessed firsthand the challenges of being understaffed and under-resourced. Our teachers work tirelessly, but they need more support to meet the diverse needs of our students. Equitable funding would help ensure that every child receives the quality education that they deserve. Increasing the percentage of funding from tax dollars from the 80% to 90% would make a significant difference. It would allow us to hire more staff, provide essential resources, and create a better learning environment for every student. I've seen the toll this takes on teachers and staff who are giving their all, and I've seen the incredible results our students achieve in spite of it. Imagine what they could do if they had the same resources as their peers. Our kids deserve that. They deserve equity, not because we want more, but because they deserve the same chance to thrive. I hope you will consider this, and I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. And Alexander Frank. Screen here, Alexander.
Hello. Thank you for your time. I am here on behalf of Gresham-Barlow Academy. My name is Alex Frank. I am a Gresham-Barlow graduate, Oregon State University grad, and Air Force veteran. I'm here to talk about my daughter over there, Lillian, and how well she's excelled at this school. I admit that when we were looking for a school, we did have some hesitancy about the charter program. I didn't know a whole lot about charter schools. I myself had gone through the Gresham-Barlow School District, and we took a chance because of the data we read and the scores that we saw from the school district. And I will tell you that I have been absolutely amazed at the progress that my daughter has shown. Right now, she's in third grade. By kindergarten, she was reading. When I deployed in 2023 for 6 months, I missed the end of her kindergarten. When I got back, she went from just starting to learn how to read foundational concepts to fully reading when I got back. It was truly amazing to see. Right now, I keep getting, they send out monthly report card or weekly report cards. I'm always amazed at how well she's doing. She's certainly doing a lot better than I was at third grade, but I think that goes to show to the school's strength. But I don't want to give just a onesie-twosie example about what my experience with my daughter is. So I did dive into the data. And one of the data, what the data said is that Gresham-Barlow Academy is your best performing elementary school in this district. Their third grade had a 62% for math. That's 11% higher than the second highest school. And their fifth grade English scored an 82 when the median was 43. And it's a kind of success that doesn't come easy. And it's a success that I have seen the staff work tirelessly for. Ms. Burton, who's delivered comments earlier, every day, since there's no funding, there's no buses, she's running traffic outside the building. She knows every single kid's name. When she's doing pickup, she knows not only every single kid's name, she knows every parent's name because she has to run security to make sure that if she recognizes somebody that shouldn't be there, she knows to ask for their ID. That's how tirelessly this staff works. I've helped with lunch support. Miss Liston feeds all these kids, one single cafeteria worker loading tray after tray after tray for groups and groups of kids. And it just speaks to how hard this staff is working. And the results prove themselves. So the results that I just mentioned are from the Gresham-Barlow site. They're posted by the Oregonian. If you average all the scores across elementary for third, fourth, and fifth between reading and math, they have the highest averages by a margin. If you look at it by a median, they're well ahead. So my closing pitch is not only should this school not be underfunded, it should be a roadmap because they are succeeding far and above. And imagine what your best performing grade school could do with full funding, because I guarantee you they are really, really working for it. So thank you.
Thanks, Alex. And thank you, Lillian, for joining us too. All right. That was Gresham-Barlow. Okay, and that was all right. Well, I really appreciate the letter that the board did receive from Gresham-Barlow. I know I pushed some questions out to district leadership on the basis of that one. I invite other board members to do the same. I believe districts and some information finding as well on that, and I'm sure it'll come back forward. But thank you for all for being here. Thank you everybody for being here. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and recess. If you want to stick around, we have some additional items to cover as a board. including a financial report if you're interested in that. Pete, sorry to put the spotlight on it, but it's the spotlight's coming. But if you'd like to leave, you're very welcome to as well. So we'll take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back when that clock says 7:55. So thanks, everybody.
Hi, we're back.
All right. We'll go ahead and reconvene our November 6th board business meeting. Next up is our consent agenda. Nope. Here's the agenda. So all items on the consent agenda are matters considered by the board to be routine, and they'll be enacted by one motion. The motion requires a second and a vote. There will be no separate discussion of items on the consent agenda unless a member of the board requests specific items be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. Those are minutes from a special work session, October 2nd, minutes from a regular board business meeting on October 2nd, minutes from the regular work session on the 16th of October, a financial report that we'll have opportunity to look at later tonight, and employee contracts. So with that,
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved by Chris, second by Heather. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Holly. Any opposed? Okay. Next up is Superintendent and District Leadership Report. Dr. Klinger.
Good evening. It's hard to believe that it's already November. We've had a busy and productive fall, completing our first grading periods for secondary schools, hosting various student activities and family engagement events, and conducting essential professional development for our staff. We're also preparing for parent-teacher conferences, which are right around the corner. Tonight, I want to acknowledge some of the significant challenges that our community is currently navigating that directly impact our students' well-being and engagement. There's heightened fear and uncertainty for students, families, and staff due to an increase in immigration enforcement activities in the Gresham area. We recognize the stress this is causing and have compiled resources on our websites and in our school offices to support our families. The recent loss of federal food benefits for many families has been an added stressor. We are fortunate to offer free breakfast and lunch in all of our schools, and this program is currently funded and secure through November. The Oregon Department of Education will be evaluating possible solutions should a potential governmental shutdown extend into December. We know that stress, anxiety, and food insecurity are all factors that negatively affect student attendance and engagement. We are closely monitoring our attendance data and actively collaborating with community partners to connect families with the resources that they need. We know that our schools can be the very best part of the day for many children, but this is especially true when times are tough. Our staff show up every day with big hearts and a commitment to making each moment the very best that it can be. My appreciation goes out to our staff for continuing to be there for our kids with all they are navigating personally and professionally. In addition to these challenges, our district experienced a significant budget reduction of over $8 million for this school year. Schools and staff are still adjusting to the impact of these necessary reductions. Looking ahead, we face ongoing budgetary challenges, including rising purse costs, the impact of an $888 million reduction in state revenue due to changes in taxable income, as well as higher operating costs. You may have seen an article today on Oregon Live sharing the concern that superintendents have regarding the possibility of needing to make mid-year cuts. We will be sharing a more detailed update on our current year budget challenges and beginning a planning process for next budget season later this month. Shifting gears a bit to some bright spots. We are currently reviewing the first month of our submissions for What's Going Well. This provides staff the opportunity to nominate their colleagues for special recognition. In October, 46 staff members, including classified, licensed, and administrators, were submitted. It has been truly inspiring to hear stories about the positive impact our staff is making for students every day. November is often a time when people pause to reflect on some of the things that they are grateful for.
So I want to wrap this up tonight with some gratitude. As a district, we have many challenges that we are facing, and as I reflect on our steps forward, I am grateful for the open, solution-focused conversations that have been taking place with families, staff, administrators, and our board of directors. It takes all of us coming together with open minds and a spirit of collaboration that will help us weather the storms ahead. That doesn't always mean that it's easy or that we're always going to agree or that everyone can get their way. But I have been in many conversations over the last several weeks where there has been a very genuine commitment to partnership and coming together on behalf of our students. I truly believe that it takes all of us keeping students at the center and putting differences aside that will make a difference moving forward. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Tracy. Next up is our board reports and requests. I'm going to start virtually. Holly, would you have anything? Okay. So Holly will pass. Then I'm going to move from this direction. So David.
I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go to Gresham High with Superintendent Klinger. I had great conversations with Principal Aki Moore and Vice Principal John Gordon. We visited classrooms, watched instruction, and Superintendent Klinger showed me how the new construction met up with the old building. Matter of fact, if Cyrus is still here, he left. I actually got time to spend in his class that day. It was pretty awesome. Next, we went over to Kelly Creek to visit I do have a favorite, my most favorite principal, Mr. Milliken. Visiting classrooms, watching instruction. Those teachers are awesome. I got to tell you, just watch. They're like performing up there, and the kids are just all eyes on them, and it's cool to watch. It really is. At the end, Mr. Milliken said, "Hey, do you want to? What did he call it? Dismissal." He said, "Do you want to stay for dismissal?" Now, if you've ever dropped a kid off at one of our schools, dismissal is probably looks very chaotic, right? And I said, absolutely, let's go have some fun. But we had a blast. We had an absolute blast getting those kids on those buses. It was fun. I want to say that I ran for school board as an opportunity to give back to a community I so love. It was an opportunity to say thank you with a commitment. Many community members came tonight with a passion around concerns, and I feel you. You asked, what are we doing as a board? We create policy to get ahead of incidents, policy so there is clear and concise communication for all involved. We create policy to ensure staff, police, fire, or whatever is necessary to ensure everyone is safe. I'm in this community as a board member. I am listening to you outside of this boardroom. I am involved. I cannot speak for the board as a whole, but I will say we hear you. Heather.
Good evening. I just would like to give an update on my child mental health behavior course that I'm taking. One thing that I found very surprising and shocking, which some of you may know as being involved with schools, is that up until the 1970s, they did not allow children with mental retardation or any type of mental health issues into the public schools with regular students. They felt that they were either possessed or had some other kind of challenges where they could not mix in with normal students. And so I'm very happy that we have passed that era and we're allowing education for all students. And tomorrow I'll be attending the Oregon State Board of Oregon School Board, that S always gets me. The Oregon School Board Association's 79th Annual Conference, downtown Portland on tomorrow and Saturday. So I'm looking forward to attending that. Thank you.
Chris.
A few things were going on the last couple of weeks. I'm also just tagging on as well. I will be at the Oregon School Board Association annual convention, which is in Portland, 2 days for Friday and Saturday, and then follow up on Sunday with the OSBA board. I attended the Oregon School Board Association Regional Roundtable, the legislative update. The biggest thing that they were talking about there was the accountability measure and what that means for school board members. There was a long presentation that we had, and I believe we're going to have access to some of those slides. It's worth looking at. There's a lot of stuff that they want to figure out different ways to measure student achievement, student progress, and they want to figure out what role school board members have in that success. It's not too soon to start thinking about the short session, the short legislative session, which will be February 2nd, 2026. Each legislator is allowed a limited number of bills that they can bring forward, and this one is looking to be a rather raucous event. There are a lot of things that people feel like they want to have heard, and so we definitely need to be paying attention to that short session. I was able to visit West Orient Middle School. I went out just the power of a newsletter. I'm on the newsletter list for a couple of the schools, and I received a very wonderful newsletter from the head secretary at West Orient and told me about a book fair that they were having. So I was able to go out there, visit the book fair, talk with the kids, talk with the media specialist, and also might have bought a few books that I left for the building that I'll have to go back and read there in the building. But it was quite a fun event that I was able to do. I wanted to do also a reminder and recognition that November 11th is Veterans Day. We honor and recognize those who served. Thank you, Blake. And Sean or John, yeah, John, and all those who did not come back as well. The last thing that we got to do, my business is on Main Street in downtown Gresham, and they do a safe trick or treat for Halloween. Up and down Main Street. They close Main Street and it's open for all families to come. It's not set aside just for kids. So we get entire families that come dressed up. We had about 2,000 kids come through in a couple of hour time period. Rained half the time, so it started out nice and then it poured. With a combination of about 2,000 kids and then the associated adults and others that came with them, there are about 4,000 or 5,000 people that come onto downtown Gresham. We did, in fact, run out of candy, and at the very last bit, I had to dig into the roll of nickels that I had, and kids got a couple of nickels, and they were thrilled to get money, to get real hard cash. And one mom, when the kid said, "Mom, I got 2 nickels," and she said, "Great, we can start your college fund." Yes, mom's thinking ahead. So anyhow, it was quite a time, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon as we move on through November with the OSBA work, and then we hit December. So that's my board report.
Sean.
All right. Okay, mic drop apparently. Okay, I was gone last month. Unfortunately, because we moved the board meetings from Wednesdays to Thursdays, my work has me traveling primarily on Thursdays, so there will be a lot more meetings that I'm missing. It is not because I desire to miss or want to miss, but I do have to make the donuts. I also want to recognize the Veterans Day coming up as a fellow veteran, and we have some other veterans over here, Blake and John. Thank you for them and their service. Thank you for all the people who have served. And I also want to bring awareness that while many people come home physically, they're no longer the same mentally. I know Blake, myself, and probably John have known plenty of people who have chosen to take their life afterwards. It's one of the worst things I see on Facebook is some of my fellow service members announced that they have passed through suicide. So please support your veterans. On happier news, we had so many teams go to the playoffs. I do not want to mention individual teams because I'm afraid I will miss those teams. It's been a banner year for both Gresham and Barlow High School. That is amazing. As usual, I've been to several athletic events. And one incident that I want to talk about is how wonderful it is to see our community come together. And that was, we had a junior at Gresham High School become seriously injured at a football game, paralyzed. And the community has come together to surround him and his family, as well as cheer him on. You know, he's making progress, you know, and so I wish Tucker the best. I will be at COSA Law the first week of December for work. However, I would encourage any and all board members to come down on December 4th, which is kind of the big day. It is a 3-day conference, but the one main day is December 4th down in Eugene. It is well worth your time. It dives into the law side of education, which we should be privy of given we're on the school board. And finally, in the last couple of months, I've been on the policy committee, coming in at 8 a.m. and working with some wonderful people on getting the policies ready to go for work sessions. And then eventually you see them here in our, what do we call them? Consent agenda. So just, that's what I've been doing.
All right, on Sean's note, it prompted me to make sure I don't miss an announcement that Gresham High School is going down to Summit to play first round playoff game tomorrow night, 7 p.m. So that's a place you can be. With that, I'm with Sean. I guess that's the only team that I will name specifically. No, I'll name a second one. I got to go see the Barlow women's soccer team. It was a heartbreaker, but the character of our players, so we've recognized Coach Jacobson so many times up here for national level awards, and it's clear in the character of his program. Just tons of congratulations to those ladies, and I look forward to recognizing them as individual athletes here soon. Alongside November 11th being Veterans Day, it's also Armistice Day, reason why we celebrated on November 11th, the end of hostilities in World War I. And I think it's an appropriate reflection. You know, we're coming with our own generation's challenges. We're coming in here with sincere hearts to solve it, and collaborative hearts, and convicted hearts. And once upon a time in our great grandparents' generation, or great grandparents, or the future was very bleak and cost a lot of sacrifice. And in the end, they won a peace that endured. I appreciate David's comments. You said you spoke as an individual, but I know that you speak as a whole board. We wouldn't be here if we didn't want to be part of a solution somewhere. And so you don't have to go down the recesses of YouTube too far to find communities who have responded to their challenges differently than our community has chosen to respond to them. And I just want to express so much gratitude in the civility and the grace and the resolve that people engage with us with, and hopefully you receive that back. Our contact information is in certain seasons painfully posted on the district website. And I've spent a number of hours on the phone this week, and I'm sure my fellow board members have too. That's what we signed up for. We do it willingly, and we do it gratefully, and a community that is engaged for solution's sake makes it worth it. And so thank you for that to everybody who presented, who is no longer here because I dismissed them. But anyway, I'm going to talk as if because people who might be watching don't know. Well, now they do. So anyway, I just want to say thank you to our community, and with that closes our board reports. No, she already waived her chance. She was offered first, right? Okay. All right, so that's going to move us past board reports, and now we get presentations with our Nutrition Services Annual Report. We have Chartwell's here, right? All right. Does anybody want to introduce us? Or Sarah, would you mind introducing this?
Good evening, Chair Peterson and all members of the board. It is my pleasure to introduce Mazen Najjar. Did I get it? We were practicing. He's our Director of Dining Services for Chartwell's, and this is our Nutrition Services Annual Report. He's going to review the highlights of last year's Nutrition Services program and talk about their main responsibility in preparing and serving meals and meal supplements to students and participants in the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs. Thank you for doing this, Mazen.
Good evening. My name is Mazen Najjar. I'm the Director of Dining Services with Chartwell. I want to thank the members of the board for giving me the opportunity to present the Nutrition Services Annual Report tonight. So today I'll talk about the strategic imperatives, our team, our areas of improvement, food and menu variety, student satisfaction and engagement programs, increasing participation, success factors, community engagement and communications, employee training and satisfaction, and the equipment and kitchen upgrades we got this summer. Our strategic imperatives starts with quality of food and menu variety, student experience, increasing participation, principals relations, employee training and satisfaction, and financial results. So we're aligning priorities by improving food quality and menu variety. We improve collaboration and communication. We strengthen local support. We listen, respond, and definitely act on each and every feedback we get. And our aim is to increase participation. Our team in the Nutrition Services Office consists of Hussein, he's the area director, I, Mazen, the director of dining services, Tracy and Ashley are the assistant director, Danielle is our executive chef, Araya and Caroline are the admin assistants. We have 82 associates in the kitchens, working their heart out every day, and we are supported by a regional team of experts in finance, human resources, culinary, nutrition, and marketing. Our areas of focus are: 1, quality of food and menu variety, student satisfaction and engagement programs, increasing participation, community engagement and communication, employee training and satisfaction, and our catering services. So we serve foods that kids love to eat. As you can see here, we have a lot of stations like American Classics, Bisono, the Latin station. We have our famous grilled station, regular cheeseburgers, hamburgers, chicken sandwiches. We have our tomato station, where we offer different kind of pizzas every day, huge variety. And we have our deli station. And of course, we have the vegetarian option offered every day. All our food are local produce, and it's fresh, minimally processed. And every day we have one item on the menu that's cooked from scratch. And each and every school in the district have a salad bar that's rich and fresh. Our main focus is always on quality and variety. So we provide a wide variety of daily choices. We highlight local favorites. We rotate the menu every day with different sides, fruits, vegetables, main courses. We promote protein variety, vegetarian choices. We offer global flavors, and we use fresh and local ingredients. And mainly we focus on allergy-friendly choices. We always concentrate every day on the food safety and quality assurance. So all our kitchen, we goes through a deep assessment and audits on daily basis. We make sure that we are providing regular staff training, and we ensure HACCP compliance. So we take food safety and quality assurance very seriously. Student satisfaction. So our aim is to keep the students satisfied with our meals. That's why we conduct regular student surveys. We offer choice and customization. We ensure consistent meal quality and variety, and we make dining environment comfortable. We celebrate cultural diversity. We promote positive interactions with our cafeteria staff. We provide timely meal service, and definitely we enhance on the visual appeal of our meals. Our engagement programs, one of our engagement programs is called the Mood Boost, which is a fun and engaging program to help students connect the foods they eat with how they feel. As you can see here, we have strong, happy, smart, confident. This is an interesting program that we do. This is some of our pictures that we did this year. It was interesting and engaging. The kids loved it, and we loved it also as our staff. Other programs, engaging program is called the Global Eats, which is a culinary adventure featuring delicious food from all around the world. Students love trying new flavors while learning about different cultures. This is really a fun and educational program. As you can see here, some pictures. Our last event was about Italy. We also have Discovery Kitchen. So each month, Discovery Kitchen lessons, events, and culinary demonstrations feature a different theme. These themes are designed to inspire discovery, curiosity amongst students, growth, and participation. So definitely, we're always aiming to increase participation. We do that through promoting our school meals through campaigns. We gather and act on each and every feedback we get. We host special events. We speed up service lines. We introduce grab and go stations. And sometimes we run the Why Eat With Us campaigns. And we always try to boost the breakfast participation by introducing breakfast after the bell, breakfast in class, and grab and go stations for breakfast. So talking about food service by numbers, this year was a great year for us, for the whole district. We did great. The numbers were on the increase. As you can see here, we are serving now daily over 2,300 breakfasts, over 5,600 daily lunches. This year we served over 1,300,000 total meals, and we're serving 27 schools. Comparing 24 to 25, our numbers are on the increase, which is a great sign for us and for the district. It's very interesting here. You can see the breakfast is on the rise, the lunch, and the CACFE program that we're on. But mainly the lunch, we can see we did great. We had over 100,000 meals increase from 24 to 25. So we can see from 24 to 25, we have a steady increase in the number of meals we're serving, and our goal is to maintain that increase in the coming year. Success factors. Number one, strong district administration support, which we're feeling that every day. Managing between the lines by the nutrition services team. We have extremely dedicated frontline associates, and definitely Chartwell's regional support. Community engagement and communication is also one of our main focus, where we partner with local farmers and producers. We promote nutrition education. We share our success stories publicly. We sponsor schools and community events. We implement sustainability programs. We celebrate culture, and definitely we strengthen collaboration with principals and teachers. Communications. Our goal is to keep everyone informed, engaged, and excited about school meals. We do this through social media posts, monthly newsletters, up-to-date website. Our menu is online where anybody can go in and see what we're serving this month, next month, every day. And again, we listen, respond, and act to each and every feedback, let it be big or small. Our employees, we always like to keep our employees trained and satisfied. So we train our employees regularly in safe food handling, preparation, and portion control. We conduct regular evaluations, assessments, and audits. We implement the standard operating procedures in our kitchens. We definitely promote a culture of accountability and communication. We maintain nutrition compliance. We foster a positive work environment, and we recognize our employee achievements. Here are some pictures of our happy employees. Definitely not all of them are here because this slide is small, but here are some employees that are enjoying winning the Cheers program, which is an Employee of the Month program that we run. We recognize and celebrate the winners. And every year we celebrate School Lunch Hero Day, which is in May. And we make sure each and every employee's voice is heard. And definitely their voices matter. So this summer, I thank the district and the maintenance for doing an excellent job by upgrading our kitchens and adding new equipment. This helped us a lot. I mean, all of this was done in a short period of time in the summer, which is a tremendous effort. And as you can see, Gresham High School, Barlow High School, Springwater, all these schools went through major upgrade and new equipment. The kitchens look new, clean, and up to date, which is all the equipment is brand new, and we're proud of that achievement. It went through in the summer for 2 months, but they finished on time. I thank the district for that. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Mesa? Yeah, David.
Chartwell's makes our dinners. We eat school food for dinner here. So this is a comment. I own 8 restaurants across Washington, Oregon, and Arizona. And I've had some of the best dinners here. They're really good.
Thank you. It's an honor to hear coming from you, sir.
I just would like to say that I think your Global Eats program is amazing. It's very hard for me to get my kids to try different meals. So whatever you're doing to make that happen, that's amazing. And also your mood boost program. Can you explain a little bit more? Are there little stickers that say this is for this and this is for that? And is it visible to the kids? Like how would they go and pick something to make
Yeah,
them?
like we have a banner, for example, we're on this program once a month. So this month, for example, is gonna be the happy food. So we promote the happy, which is the yellow thing. So we put the banners of the yellow, doll, and we have small stickers and flags, and we promote the happy food. Another month would be the calm. So each month would be one of these characters that you saw. They're not all at once.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for the pizza. My son eats the pizza every day. Don't think he eats anything else out of the cafeteria, but thank you.
Oh,
If you got rid of that, you would have an unhappy eighth grader.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to hear.
Not seeing Holly. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, we have a recess on the schedule, but we already used it. So we're going to continue. We have committee meeting minutes that are attached in here that board has had an opportunity to review. So we're going to move on to association reports, and we will start with Tia Ross, OCA, right here.
Thank you, Chair Peterson, fellow members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Klinger. OSCA Chapter 8 has been preparing for the upcoming negotiations, and we have selected our team. We are meeting with all of the different subgroups of classified staff. For example, we've already met with the special education EAs, gen ed EAs, and then we've also met with facilities, maintenance, and custodial. And next up is secretaries. This way we can represent every voice and hear what's important to everyone to have in our contract. And we're looking very forward to it. It's a fun process. And that is all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tia. And Matt Wallace, we'll go online to you for GBA.
Excuse me. First of all, I appreciate you letting me deliver our presentation virtually tonight. These 32 third graders are taking their toll on me, and I start to feel it by the end of the week. So I do appreciate being able to come present to you virtually. The second thing I want to mention before I start is, Chris, your little story about passing out those nickels, it brought a lot of joy to me in that moment, because I remember Hattie Holcomb, and I remember that name very, very well, lived on our street, and Hattie would pass out foiled wrapped coins on Halloween, and her favorite kids in the neighborhood would get quarters and all the other kids would get pennies or nickels. And so I of course always look forward to those quarters because I was one of Hattie's favorites. So that brought a lot of that little story brought a lot of joy to me in that moment. So thank you for sharing that this evening. And so I've got my general, thanks to everybody, Chair Peterson, members of the board, and Superintendent Klinger. Of course, I always appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys on behalf of the GBA and our members. We absolutely do value and appreciate the time that you invest in our students and families in the Gresham community. I know it goes well beyond these board meetings that are a heavy lift for you, and many of y'all have other things going on in your lives, and so I do appreciate the time that you spend here with us. With that said, my message tonight is going to be a little bit different. As you're probably all aware, our message is usually focused on things that are maybe not going particularly well in the eyes of our members, things that we work to hold the district accountable for, that where we feel like they're maybe not meeting the needs of our students and our staff. So please don't misinterpret my deviation from that this evening. We still, obviously, I think you heard the message from a lot of our folks tonight, our members and community. Still a lot of things to work through, a lot of concerns in front of us. But honestly, tonight, instead, this evening, I wanted to share a positive message. And I apologize, Dr. Klinger, if I'm stepping on the toes a little bit of what's going well in the district. That was not my intent. But I don't know about you guys, but I needed a little bit of positivity in my life with the way things are going on these days. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about our teachers, and one in particular. And I got to pick that one in particular because I got to pick. So this evening, I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible work that our teachers across the district do every single day to support the students and families in our community. They show up with passion, creativity, and heart, often going far beyond the classroom walls to make a lasting difference. One teacher that I personally want to recognize this evening exemplifies what it means to be an educator, and that's Kemi Garrison. who is a fourth grade teacher at my East Gresham Elementary School. Kemi embodies the best of who we strive to be as educators: dedicated, compassionate, innovative, and deeply connected to her students. I asked a couple of folks to say something about Kemi, and one of the colleagues says, Kemi goes above and beyond for students and coworkers. She builds meaningful relationships with all of her students. Students look forward to coming to school because of Kemi. She makes learning fun and relatable. She's always looking for ways to boost staff morale and make work a fun place to be. Her personality and upbeat energy are infectious and so greatly appreciated. Another colleague shared, Kemi consistently goes above and beyond to make learning fun for her students. She makes school an engaging and safe place where kids want to be. She's amazingly creative, and her dedication to make learning hands-on makes a huge impact on her students. She's so passionate about social studies, tribal history, and STEM, and that excitement makes her classroom a wonderful place to be and learn. And with Kemi, I can personally say, I don't think I've ever met a teacher who works harder to connect with her students and engage with their families. Kemi teaches with passion, humility, care, and in my opinion, most importantly, humor. She consistently seeks out new ways to bring learning to life. Last year, I remember during the Oregon Trail unit, she went as far as to build a large covered wagon. And I'd like to say I had a little part in that because she was trying to think about how to make the loops over the top to drape the canvas. And I said, why don't you get some hula hoops and cut them in half? And so she was like, that's genius. But she created all the rest of it, did it herself, including complete with artifacts. And that became a quiet student study area and a reading space for her students. Kemi's creativity and dedication are extraordinary. But she is also a reflection of the countless educators across our district who go above and beyond every day, even as they continue to face larger class sizes, fewer resources, and increasing demands. Tonight, I really just want to thank them for being more than amazing teachers, but for being amazing people. And I feel extremely lucky to call them my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Wish you a very wonderful finish to the week. Okay. Appreciate the reports. We're going to move to we opted to move action item 19 there off to next month. So now we have an action item related to physical restraint and seclusion annual report by Donna. So thanks, Donna.
Hi, good evening, Chair Peterson and the rest of the board. I'm presenting the physical restraint and seclusion annual report required by state law. Each summer, the district reviews, analyzes, and makes public reporting of the number of physical restraints and seclusions. This is the district's report on those restraints and seclusions for the 24-25 school year. We also included the analysis as well as some trend data that has been requested in the past. Are there any questions?
Do you see an increase or decrease in these numbers over from previous years?
So on the graph at the bottom of, is that the second page? It's the 7-year trend as to the number of students compared to the number of restraints. And so if you look at the blue line number of students in the last couple of years, it's remained relatively consistent. Number of students who have been engaged in a restraint. And then there shows some slightly downward trend from last year.
So I'm just going to give it a couple minutes here.
So just kind of looking at the trend lines and looking at some of the information. And I know, we obviously had a dip in 2021 because we weren't here. How is the trend line, um, for lack of a better word, how has it been working? And I see that we have number of restraints and we have my screen, the number of students. And does it match up that it looks like it's going down, that we had a little bit of a peak when the kids were coming back, and then it looks like it's going back down again? And is that just because there's fewer students? Is there different methods that are being used so that we're not having to go to a restraint scenario? And we're definitely way down from what we were pre-COVID, where there was a lot more, it looks like, of restraint activities. So just a brief, how is that coming about?
So we did switch to a different restraint model from, we had OIS quite a few years ago, and we switched to MANT. That's our current model that focuses more on those preventative strategies. We've also done a fair amount of training on the preventative strategies by pushing that out to principals, who then also support their buildings with that part. And then we just have plans to continue doing that, pushing out that information to more and more staff. And I would, looking at this data, the student count, the number of students for last school year is 38 students. So compared to the district population, that's relatively small amount of students. So you could predict that that trend line could go up or down, you know, um, within a few, it could be similar, but go up or down by just a few students difference, if that makes sense.
It does, because there's a small number of kids that one or two makes a difference.
Yeah.
So, and for
And
the
then-
people who are looking at this at home, they didn't necessarily know that. So that helps to clarify that for them. Thank you.
Right, and the number of total restraints was 60. So there was 38 students engaged in 60 restraints. So that just means a few students had a few restraints each, or maybe one student had a lot. It could mean one of those things.
I know this report is very specific to seclusions and restraints and by law and stuff like that. However, it is on a similar vein of what we hear from families around room clears. I know that's not in this report, but do we have the data somewhere where there's a trend line of the amount of room clears in the district or school by school over the years? If not, is that something that is even trackable that we could track to see what the data is like? Because we keep hearing about the room clears, but I don't know about the data.
Right, and room clears is one of the strategies to prevent putting hands on students. Tracy, did you have?
I'll let John respond, because we do have a district safety committee that meets quarterly, and some of the data that they look at is room clears.
Tracy's correct, and that committee is new and revamped after the last bargain too. So it's got classified, certified admin on that. And our first meeting this year, very productive of how do we get consistent on different things to reporting. So this is the first time we've included in the form, the monthly meeting forms, room clear numbers. So trend line over time, I don't know that I'd be able to get that to you, but we are starting to track it more. To Donna's point about room clears as well, I want to say it's a relatively new practice, but now it's 20 years that I think about it, so I wouldn't say new anymore. The law changed in the early 2000s that you couldn't restrain kids as easily, where you used to take a little who may be having an episode in class and you would move that kid out of class and then you wouldn't have to room clear. We're not allowed to do that anymore. So that room clear has to happen for obvious reasons. And it does make behavior and challenges more obvious with that change. However, getting that data at the end of this year, we should have data for you as we look through it. Okay.
Sorry, Blake, go ahead. I'd be interested in making maybe that part, maybe it's probably not appropriate in this report, obviously, because this is for the state, but finding time, whether it's at one of our retreats or maybe the public meetings to, hey, this is where we were at, since we're starting to collect that data now, 25, was it yeah, this is 25, 26 going forward. It'd be good data.
I might arrive at a question. We'll see. I think your comment, John, is really helpful to talk about how practices have changed. And I think one of the things that would help me and I think help the community is to give an opportunity to editorialize a little bit this information, because there's a way that you could look at this and say every restraint is a failure of the system if you were reading it. I don't know that that's a very accurate perception, because this is staff who are trained to use this in extreme circumstances of dysregulation. So I kind of am leading to maybe if there's some editorializing of this data that would be helpful.
I think I understand what you're saying as far as this data does not include who didn't get restrained, who was prevented. I don't know. That's what I heard as you were talking.
Well, I think when a restraint happens, obviously it's a significant event. Would you classify it as a failure?
I do not. It's keeping
Yeah.
the students safe.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to have that opportunity, because I do think there's times that we can look at this and maybe be led to the wrong conclusions, not because of information you're providing, but because of our own perspectives as we enter it. So
Mhm. And I'll add, can I add, the restraint is used for imminent risk of harm to student or somebody else. So, and most of them are extremely short, like 30 seconds to just, you know, stop that harm from happening. So that's another piece that doesn't really show in the data. You got a number, but you don't know how the duration.
Some concrete examples to add to that, to editorialize. A student experiencing autism behavior is communication, may not be a verbal student, could run out into the street. You're going to restrain, and then you're going to document that. Could be running to an unsafe area of the building, and you're going to restrain because of that health and safety piece. You could have a bad day with a kindergartner who needs to be separated from other kindergartners, and that's a restraint, and you document that. So to your point, there are times, and it's always health and safety. And when you're down to 38, that shows that you're minimizing things. Just district wide, we have 1,528 students with disabilities. So the chance for restraints is there every day and higher. And that it's this low with that number is pretty good.
Another question, and we don't have to have the answer today, but so we've gone to MAP training. What year did you say that was? Recent, like 5 years?
5 years maybe right before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's recent. That's just, that's, I'd be interested, what percent of our staff are trained in MANT? Or what particular classifications of staff are trained in MANT?
I can give you a general idea.
Sure.
So it's our special educators and our administrators and our counselors, campus monitors. That's the role that automatically gets trained. And then there's some case by case basis that we would train. The number is about 1 to 50 students, one member trained to 50 students district wide.
The ongoing, because it's pretty comprehensive, the ongoing training. So everybody who's new, it's 2-day training. Everybody who's getting recertified is a 1-day training, and that's every other year. That at second year, back to the 2-day training for a recertification. So it's ongoing. It's a significant and necessary cost, but it's done.
I do have a follow-up question to that. Because overall, the staff that you mentioned is probably a smaller part of the school population. It's not your general education teachers. Are we putting ourselves in a liable situation when, say, for an elementary school classroom, if there is a restraint needed and the teacher is not properly trained, but they have to do the restraint, is that putting liability on us? Like maybe we should be training more staff than less staff. Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we do have some gen ed staff that
Oh.
are trained, and I think when you look at the data, so many of the students that have experienced a restraint are in some kind of specialized program or are receiving special education services, which is the intentionality behind having special ed staff, because they're often the ones that would respond to some of those challenges. So a classroom teacher is trying to keep instruction going. It's always that balance of when you start to talk about a day or two of training and you're pulling staff out of instructional time to do that, that's its own cost and creates its own challenges. So I think it's always a balancing act with that. If we have staff that are having a specific problem or schools that are having specific challenges, they can request training. We can, support them. And there have been needs in that way that we've had to meet.
And there are specific protections in the law for staff who find themselves in that necessary situation. We just don't want them to use that often.
And the main thing is reporting. Staff are required to report right away, regardless. And one of the questions is, are you trained or are you not? And that's part of the process.
Any? Can I get clarification? Is this a state reporting or a school district reporting? This is for the entire state of Oregon or just our school district? Okay, so the 4 students without disabilities, because it looks like this is primarily students with some type of disability. The 4 students listed here without disabilities, is this a possible factor of allowing a student to stay in a classroom where they've become obnoxious and disruptive to the point that it turns into a situation where they need to be restrained? It's like, could we nip this in the bud if we do something about it the first situation, at the first occurrence? Is it something that is built up over time and it gets to a point where, okay, we need to excuse me, we need to restrain you because now you've crossed the line? Are we allowing this to fester and become something terrible?
There's a lot of strategies that go into proactively, managing the situation, the environment, the student's emotions before ever going to a restraint. So what I couldn't speak to in this moment is those 4 situations, because I'm not going to know that without digging into that information. And I could generalize and say that those are students that had a struggle on a particular day. So I'm sorry, I can't go too deep into your question because that can go deep into behavioral theory as to the why, but each student's different, right?
So I'll add some of the possible whys. Some of the possible whys could be that it's a student that's not eligible for special education services yet. So maybe they're in a process, or maybe they were not found to be eligible. It also, in terms of like students that are struggling in a classroom, a restraint doesn't necessarily trigger some kind of response or not. We do a lot of proactive work, as Donna was kind of describing, in terms of really trying to work through what a student's behavior is, understanding the function of it, what they're trying to get out of the behavior, what are they trying to communicate, and build plans for students that also hopefully prevent some of this from happening. And that can happen for a student that doesn't receive special education services, and it oftentimes is for students that do have disabilities related to behavior as well. So there's a lot of other pieces that aren't necessarily related to a restraint, but could be.
I would just say thank you for the report, and also you can see from the public testimony that this information all intersects, and so um, I typically we try not to dive too deeply, but uh, I think more understanding is going to be to our benefit. Understanding of how you see this data, how you see it evolve over time, when practices change, when law changes, and most significant for the board is when policies could be adjusted to make the classrooms safer and more effective for our teachers and our students. So we rely on our district staff to help guide us on some of that. But I didn't see any other questions. All right. Well, thank you, Don.
This is an action item because we do need the board's approval to submit it to the state.
Tracy, keeping us on just before 9 o'clock. So thank you
I
for that.
move to accept the physical restraint and seclusion review for the 2024-25 school year.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Sean, second by Chris, to accept the physical restraint and seclusion review for the 24-25 school year. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Now, thank you, Don. Next up is a budget committee appointment. And Pete, do you want to handle this or do you want me to? All right. Pursuant to board policy DBA, budget committee, the board will identify vacant budget committee positions which must be filled by appointment of the board. The district currently has 2 positions open on the budget committee, and the intent is to appoint members early so that those that are interested can take part in budget, financial, and audit discussions much earlier in the school year. Spoiler alert, the financial report, as the whole board knows, is going to demand some of those conversations. So the open positions are positions 6 and 7, which are held by Aaron Meachin and Garrett Wood. In recent past, and it's been a successful practice in my view, is when those positions come vacant, provided that that person has not expired their term or the capacity of terms, then we usually solicit their interest in resuming. My understanding is we're in that process of validating. And so if the board is comfortable with that, then what we'll do is we'll post the vacant positions. District staff will contact the budget committee members who are whose terms just expired but still have service eligibility, and see if they're interested. If they are, then we would just appoint them as a renewal. If not, then we would accept applications and interview and go through that process, which is usually board leadership. So it'd be Holly and myself doing those interviews and presenting candidates to the board.
I have a question.
Sure.
I noticed in the layout of this that it says to potentially have a successful candidate to fill the vacancy at our regular meeting in December. That seemed a little bit tight to post it, do it, potentially interview through the holidays to have something ready for our December meeting. So I'm not quite sure if this was put into a suggestion back when we thought we might be looking at this a month ago, but I would strongly recommend that we push it to January so that we're still getting someone in sooner and not waiting until, not waiting until March when we start doing budget stuff. But I don't think it's realistic to push it into the December meeting. That's just my thoughts on it. People love to be on the budget committee. We're going to be overwhelmed with people who want to be on the budget committee.
My wondering, Chris, is that maybe us assuming that these 2 people may want to continue on, and then we can just go through the what would be an appointment or a renewal process or whatever with them appointment, because that could happen by December. But obviously, a full-on open position where you're doing interviews, that would be a pretty short window.
Tracy. Sorry, I'm speaking from the sky. I know. Hopefully I'm not very loud. Was there some intentionality behind putting it on this December meeting because we were starting to have some budget discussion, or was that not in regards to this? Refresh my memory.
Yeah, we typically would announce a budget committee vacancy in September, which would give us a little bit more time, and we missed that this year. So we're trying to get it done as quickly as possible. We are planning to invite our budget committee to our November work session. And so the sooner the better, yes, because I think we'll have some conversations prior to March to have as a committee.
I would have a question in terms of how do you solicit these openings? Because there are so many people, so many staff, teachers, parents, so many people concerned about the budget being not adequately spent. So having some different uh, perspectives on there and allowing other people to run for these appointments or whatever that process looks like. I think that is important to allow other people, first of all, to know that there are two positions open and to apply for them because that's the big thing now, the budget. And visibility into the budget. So it needs to, I feel like it needs to be open, those two positions, and just not rolled over into the current people that are there. Some other, some flexibility and some openness, and those two positions should be brought out to the public so that more people understand this process.
Point of clarification, I have the reference to DBA. I don't have the policy pulled up. Is that process clarified in DBA or is just the eligibility criteria?
It looks like it's more the, like, living in the district, not an officer or agent or employee of the district. And it does specify the months that we will do that. So as Superintendent Klinger said, we should have posted it in September, and then we do applications in October, and then it would be an appointment in December typically. The rest just talks about the terms and how long they are.
Yeah, so so Heather present kind of an alternative view of what's outlined here. The action that's on the table or that's being recommended to us is to declare the positions open and approve the appointment process. And so that appointment process is the point of that recommended motion that's up for consideration right now with the alternative that Heather presented of posting, not asking the previous position holders to about their interest. I said that in a clunky way, but it's after 9, so you gotta give them some grace. All right, so yeah, any questions to answer there? And then what I do is I'd entertain a motion and then we'll have the remainder of our discussion within that motion.
Just for the sake of clarification, I feel like the two positions that are becoming open, in spite of the fact that the two people in those positions are eligible, I feel like we should open them up to the public because the public, parents and others that are very concerned about the budget, don't understand the budget, and they need more visibility into it. So I feel like those two positions should be open and posted and given the duration of time that even though we missed it in September, it still requires it still should be given the duration of time to allow people to apply if the board chooses to go that way.
The budget committee meetings are open to the public. All of them are available. And I believe in recent years, going off memory, they have been virtual as well as in person. So they are available for anyone to come, to ask questions, to observe, to be a part of the process. historically, it's a fairly short time period that people are actually part of this. We oversee what's going on, but the actual budget preparation stuff is done by Peter's group as well as input from staff on budget priorities based on what money we have available. And quite honestly, let's see, it's 9 o'clock, so nobody's watching anymore. People like to be a part of it, but they don't always show up to be a part of it. So it's open, it's available, they can come. I don't believe, Tracy, you can correct me, I don't believe staff is eligible to be a committee member. So they can come and watch and they can observe and put their questions in, but they can't actually be a committee member because they're staff, and it's a conflict of interest because then they're doing it based on what they're going to get out of it. And so it's, and I see your point of not having it just carte blanche going to the person who's already there. But it is, as a starting point, asking if they are interested. If we want to change the process to open it up to a full, it would mean a very quick process so that we meet the timeline of being able to have more in-depth conversation about this potential budget rather than taking another month and a half to 2 months to get someone, get scheduled, get interviews done, get them in place. We're doing budget at that point. We have to have a budget in place by when, Pete? When do we have to have a budget ready?
It depends by what you mean by in place, but
We have to have one, at least April is usually when we've solidified.
I'd say before then, but yes, absolutely.
I think we're delving into discussion. Here's what I would, I mean, the recommended motion, the steps are outlined there, 1 through 6. Do you all see that? Okay, so the recommended motion validates that process for announcing the vacancy, which is not really on the table, in my opinion. That's something we're obligated to do by policy. But 1 through 6 is the current outline. What I'm hearing from Heather is that there would be some revision to 2, 3, and 4 or elimination. So, yeah.
How about I make a motion? That way we could go ahead and discuss. All right, so I move to declare positions 6 and 7 on the Gresham-Barlow School District Budget Committee as vacant and approve appointment process as currently outlined.
Okay, so it's been moved by Sean, second by David, to declare position 6 and 7 on the district budget committee as vacant and approve the appointment process as outlined. Now, in discussion.
I mean, I've said all that I want to say about it. Thank you.
So if we offer it to the 2 existing folks that are in the position, is there anything wrong with opening it up to other people who might want to apply? And in that case, would it take a change to the motion? Edit, what I'm thinking, I can't think of the word right now. Amendment, thank you.
Yes, it would, because
And is it in policy? Because I can't. Bring
no,
right
no,
now. So it's just in
it's this outline. So I'll read it. I'll read it for public. So 1, the board announces the budget committee vacancy as noted above. 2, the director of finance advertises the open positions, in this case 6 and 7, and contacts the previous budget committee members to determine their willingness to continue service on the budget committee. 3, if previous budget committee members are willing to serve, those names are brought to the board for appointment. 4, if previous budget committee members are not willing to serve, the district accepts applications from interested persons over the next month. 5, which is the chair and vice chair conduct interviews if desired and provide a recommendation to the board. 6, the board appoints successful candidates to fill the vacancy at its regular meeting in December. That is the part that's probably that you brought to the attention to. So that's the outline that is on the table.
And I believe we've been doing this for quite a while now, this process. It may not be in policy, maybe it should be in policy, I don't know, but this is what we've been doing. Looks like Holly's got a comment.
I'm trying not to talk over anybody, and I realize I should probably raise my hand because there's an option for that. I would just add, I see your point, Heather, and I think it's a valid point for sure. I don't know that we've had enough interest. There's not a ton of people in line, I think, trying to get on the budget committee. But like Chris pointed out, it is open. All of our meetings, our budget meetings are open, so people can come. And we did have people come in person last year and make comments, some staff members and parents. So that's always available. The only thing I would add is that I do think there's a benefit, especially this year with wanting to have discussion about the budget early because of the things that we can kind of see coming at us. It might be of benefit to have people who have been through that process before and who understand that process a little bit, because that comes up every year, that we're kind of re-outlining what budget committee members even do and what role they play in the budget. So there could be some benefit to that this year especially, but that's for everyone to decide. So.
And I think my comments are very similar to Holly. You know, I do see the point. And if it was another year where we weren't going to have some very in-depth, very quick budget conversations, like literally they're coming to our meeting in 2 weeks, I would, you know, potentially be in favor of let's adjust this. It's not in policy. But given the state of our current state, it might be beneficial to have the opportunity to have continuous members that are very familiar with the process, very familiar with the budget, because they just approved it 3 months ago or 6 months ago or however long ago it was. But once again, they could very well say, hey, I don't want to do it. And then we would go through the open process as it is. But I would be in favor, given everything this particular year, keep it as is. But in the future, re-looking at it when things are not as contentious, because I do agree that, you know, we want to make sure that there's a lot of people that are representing our committee.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Chris?
I like our opportunity. We have a number of people who are on the budget committee. I like the opportunity that we have to make sure that we have diverse voice, that we have people that are saying, that are giving a different viewpoint. With that, there is also benefit to making sure that we maintain some of the people who've done it before, just for the what Holly just said about people understanding the process. It's not the budget committee doesn't go through a line item budget. They're not writing the budget. They're not creating the budget. They're looking at a bigger picture than that. And sometimes it's helpful to have people who have already been involved with it. There are also budget work session, or not work sessions, budget 101 type things. And I don't know if those are open as well. That could also be one of the things where people could come, and it's just a high level overview of how is the budget created? What does it do? What does the budget committee people do? And that could be something, if someone's interested in doing this, they could look at it at that point. But I think, as Blake has just said, this is going to be an interesting year budget wise, because we've got state and federal budget issues going on. And if we have two people who have been through this before, and we have other people that are on, there's always a cycle of who's on and off. I would be interested in making sure that we start with them. And then if we do need to get other people, we have that opportunity, and just continue to look for those opportunities to bring people in so that they are ready when there is a position that comes open, that they would be ready to apply for it. So I'm done.
All right, last call for discussion.
I just want to say I agree with everything that was just stated, and just like Sean had indicated, some other year that we could make it open, or it may be that way. Those two people may not want to, so we'll find that out. But I definitely see the benefit of, due to the state that we are in budget wise, of having novice, or no, not novice, but experienced people there. All right, thank you.
All right, and my only discussion will be what I failed to say at the outset, and that is huge amount of gratitude to Aaron and Garrett for their service on the budget committee, regardless of how they might feel, if should they be asked to continue service. So, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion? Does anybody need me to restate the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, board. And do you have what you need from that? All right, sounds good. All right, next up, we have fall 2025 academic data. A quick, I might run awry of some rules, but this is something we need to approve this meeting. Mhm.
Just the fall benchmark data.
Am I authorized to move this off, or what do you think?
I mean, you could pull the board, you know, check with your fellow board members to confirm with them, but yeah, you could move it if you wanted to.
I'm happy to sit in the seat with you, unless you'd like to,
Can you do it in 2 minutes? No, okay.
that's part of it. I think it's in-depth data and I,
It is, but it's fall data. So fall data is like, here's where we are point in time. It can go faster than, it's really, the speed depends on how many questions you have. But it would be an opportunity for us to give you an overview of where we stand right now.
we have almost a full board, so let's just shoot. So we are up for the fall 2025 academic data, Heidi and Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Chair Peterson, school board members. Michelle Cook is joining us as well because she has some measures of our school systems.
And we will go fast. Most of the data that you're going to see tonight is it's a review of things that you saw back in August. So there's just a few updates, giving you a chance to see where we are right now. This is also practice. Starting next year, we will need to do an annual or a tri-annual update to the board of our academic data. So this is just merely a practice run, so to speak, getting us ready for what will be required next year. So fall data, looking at literacy data, looking at math data. As far as the board condition is concerned, we're looking at the achievement outcomes as one of the elements that the board is interested in monitoring and having progress reported on. So with that, let's start with the iReady data with literacy first.
Okay, just a reminder that our fall data is a starting point in relation to grade level standards.
And Sarah, I'm not sure our clicker's working.
Oh, there. Did you do that or did I do that? Okay. So this is a look at 3 years worth of our starting point fall data on our iReady reading fall diagnostic for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And you can see our starting point is relatively flat over a 3-year period of time. And our 2024 first graders are our current 2025 second graders. You see a little bit of an increase in their starting point with the students who are at or above core, but also an increase in students who are measuring needing below grade level. For our third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade across 3 years, we see our data is remaining relatively flat over time and our proficiency levels tend to decrease from third grade to fifth grade. Our third graders in 2023 were our fourth graders in 2024, and they are our current fifth graders in 2025. This is our snapshot at the beginning of the year, decoding versus comprehension. You can see we have stronger decoding skills than our comprehension skills. This is our starting point, and we'll be able to show growth, what our growth is on all these measures the next time that we present our data. We'll be really concentrating on our growth. This is our reading measures for the iReady assessment for students who are emerging multilingual learners compared to students who are not emerging multilingual learners. And currently 4% of our EMLs are at or above grade level compared to 25% of our students who are not EMLs in our classrooms. And you can see that data is kind of staying kind of constant with a little bit of an increase in this fall for our EMLs. And for our students who have IEPs in special education, 11% of our students with IEPs are at or above grade level compared to 22% of our students who do not have IEPs. And that's a comparison over time for students who do and do not have IEPs. This graph shows our students, all students who took the iReady assessment in kindergarten through 5th grade by race ethnicity. And you can see our white students and students who identify as 2 or more races measured higher proficiency than their peers. You can see a little bit of movement in our bar graphs, and striving to close those gaps is our goal. And these are our literacy strategies that I've mentioned before last August, actually. We just talked about this. We're working on our comprehension skills, so those labs where teachers are coming for a short PD, they're preparing a lesson, and then we grab students from their classrooms and practice the lesson in a lab situation, and then planning and deepening our foundational skills, which are those decoding skills, and continuing to deepen our implementation for partner reading and vocabulary routines at the elementary.
So looking at middle school data for STAR, once again, STAR is a little different than iReady because it's predictive. It's asking, what do we think will be the number of students that can demonstrate grade level proficiency at the end of the year? So it's asking that predictive question at each of those bars over time. This is the data we looked at in August, and with this one, basically the data is fairly flat. There's a little bit of up, a little bit of down, but really not a lot of movement. So the students that we predicted to pass back in the fall with the same students that we predicted to pass in the spring. So it's a predictive measure. We didn't increase the number of students, and we didn't decrease. Things are fairly consistent from start to finish. When we compare fall of 2024 to fall of 2025, what we see is there's actually a slight increase in the number of students at all of our grade levels that we're predicting will actually be demonstrating grade level proficiency by the springtime on the state test. So we've seen some movement, not within the same group of students, but within different bands. So grade 6 from 2024 versus grade 6 from fall of 2025. And that's good. That says that things that are taking place at previous grade levels are starting to have an impact, and we're seeing that hopefully with growth over time. When we break this down to look at our students, both our EML populations and our SPED population, where the gap is still persistent and it's there. We see some growth both for EML and also for our SPED students. And when I say growth, I'm looking at that dark green bar at the very top. And I'm also looking at that dark red bar. I want that dark red bar to shrink. I want that dark green bar to grow. And so EML or SPED, we're seeing some growth in those areas, but we're still seeing a persistent gap. And Sarah, I'm clicking. Yeah, good, too good. So with this, the green bar versus, or the blue bar versus the red bar, we want the red bar to be taller. And what this is saying is that we're looking at prediction over time. If the red bar is taller, what that says is we have more students that are predicted to be on track, as opposed to the group that we measured that year previous. So by having that slight increase with that red bar over the blue, it says it looks like we're doing a better job of getting our kids over those grade level benchmarks, with what we're doing previous to the work that they've done getting into middle school. As far as, Sarah, go ahead and click for me because it's not working. The literacy strategies we talked about back in August, it's that same piece. We had a chance to roll out some of our work with the adolescent literacy framework at an October day with all of our middle school and high school staff. Continue to work on literacy strategies, and also our targeted school improvement work is a focus at both our middle schools and our high schools in terms of improving student literacy.
Okay, now we'll review our math data. So this is elementary math data. Again, this is our starting point in relation to grade level standards. And you can see 3 years at kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade. And our last year's 1st graders are our current 2nd graders. And you can see a little bit of an increase in our students who are at and above core. And once again, there's also an increase in students who are below grade level. So we want to, like Tim was saying, shrink that red portion of the graph. And this graph shows our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students over 3 years. Our 3rd graders in 2023 were our 4th graders in 2024, and they are current 5th graders in 2025. And you do see an increase in those students over time in the green portion, which is at and above core, and a little bit of well, no, the reds kind of stayed constant, sorry. And as far as our students who are emerging multilingual learners over time, 1% of our EMLs are at or above grade level on our fall diagnostic, and compared to 12% of our EMLs, or students who are not EMLs. And that graph has stayed pretty flat over time. This is our students who are in special education, receiving special education services over time, over 3 years. And this 5% of our students with IEPs are at or above grade level as compared to 10% of students who do not have IEPs. And as far as looking at our data by race and ethnicity, this shows 3 years over time. And you can see in this graph that our students, our white students and students who identify as 2 or more races measure higher proficiency than their peers at this time. Our elementary math strategies, working on math labs that we talked about, like our literacy labs. Our principals are leading a series of PDs in their schools, and we're also participating in walkthroughs with an iReady consultant, and focusing on our increased planning time and our structures to provide supports for students in the area of math.
So for the middle school level, the bottom line in terms of the story with our math data is not moving as much as our reading data. It's fairly flat, whether you're looking at years over time or even looking at the math data broken down by subgroups. There's a little bit of movement in motion you'll see in the graphs in terms of comparing the green bands from previous years, but by and large, the movement in math has not been as much as our movement in reading is really the bottom line for our math. So you can see where we were grades 6, 7, and 8, fairly consistent from year to year from different groups of students. Sarah, go ahead and click for me. Excellent. So once again, you can see a little bit of movement with our students that are identified as EML, but once again, that movement's just slight if I'm looking at that dark green bar at the very top. SPED, same sort of story. Go ahead, click for me, Sarah. Excellent. A little bit of movement, but really there's a lot of consistency from year to year with our math data in terms of what our STAR data is telling us. So go ahead and click on next for me, Sarah. As the reading data, you saw a lot of the red bars were higher than the blue bars. That's not really the case here with our math data. It's much more varied in terms of looking at the outcomes by different ethnicities and student groups. There is some growth with some populations. There's some decrease with others, or just stagnation in terms of consistent scores across the years. So with that, Sarah, go ahead and click on next. One of the pieces that we're focused on with math specifically, with that STAR training, is really helping students take ownership of that data. One of our questions was, how are students actually seeing the data as reflective of what they know and are able to do? So our middle schools have been putting a strong emphasis and focus on helping students take ownership of the data, and helping students understand the value of what that data actually tells them about their learning progress. Building Thinking Classrooms is about helping to incorporate strategies that move the cognitive load from the teacher to the student, so that the students are doing more of the thinking and the demonstrating of the math. And also discourse is a part of that process as well. Then also, just like the literacy piece, our targeted school improvement focus is on that co-planning and co-teaching and incorporation of strategies across content areas.
All right, good evening. So this piece of data just came in and we're excited to share it. One of the things when we're implementing a multi-tiered system of support is we're not just looking at student outcome data, but we're trying to measure how well are we implementing the research practices that help us know when you design things this way, you're more likely to get results. This particular assessment is called a district capacity assessment, and it's a measure of implementation drivers. It's coming out of the National Institute of National Implementation Research Network. And what they've done is designed, like, when it's a 27 question self-assessment that's broken into categories that helps us understand these are the certain buckets of things we want to be able to do to try to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to be most effective as we implement the teaching and learning practices that we're learning. there's a whole lot to it. It's really hard to kind of concise it, but think of it kind of like it's the blueprints when you build a house, and you'll know I don't know how to build a house, but you got, you know, the piece that's the foundation, and then you've got the pieces that have to do with the framing, and then you've got the pieces for, you know, the rest of it. So it's that kind of a thing where it's about the structures. So, okay, that was the best I could do. All right.
Especially
I know, right. The good news that we're super excited about is last year we worked with Monica Dixon, who was a national consultant out of the Swift Center, University of Kansas, and she facilitated the self-assessment with our team. And the blue bars are basically our baseline, where were we starting? And you know, again, we were looking for how do we continue to improve our effectiveness. And it's really saying, how many of the things are you actually doing? And so you can see this year we've made double-digit gains across the board in terms of our capacity as a district to implement the elements that are helping us move forward. And when we think about moving the dial on student outcomes, if we don't pay attention to our systems and we don't get these systems strong enough, it's harder to move the dial. So that's the big idea. We're excited about this data because we're moving forward.
And that concludes our data presentation.
Sean?
So obviously, math is kind of our struggle bus area, right? You know, we're pretty flat in one area. Math is kind of a building block, obviously, and it also has strict requirements in order to earn a high school diploma of 2 years or more of Algebra 1 or higher. However, only about 15% of our students are on track, whatever on track means, you know, grade level, which would mean that probably, what would that be, 85% of our students are not. How is that translating into our students able to graduate with a regular high school diploma with the state requirement of 2 years of Algebra 1 or higher? Or do we have a higher number of kiddos on modified diplomas because of that requirement and their inability to meet that?
Great question. So in terms of modified diploma, we don't have more students on modified diplomas. What we do have are more targeted and strategic interventions that we're using at the high school level specifically. And so at both of our bigs, both at Gresham and at Barlow, we have dedicated periods set aside where we've taken a look at students at the middle school level who've had struggles with math and are using those additional periods at the high school level to provide more opportunities to get them up to speed. The other piece with that, so we talked about the 2+1 with math, trying to also provide opportunities for math content and math credits in areas where students find that there's an interest of some sort. So trying to match interest with credits as well is part of that process.
Just a real quick question. For the students that, the middle school students, are they perhaps affected by COVID, like, you know, the few years back when COVID was occurring and they were out of school and not really um, getting that good education that they normally would get in school? Are we seeing um, some factors from that?
Yes. Um, to build on that a little bit, one of the pieces that we've been trying to focus on with middle school in terms of instruction is building on the same sort of math instruction practices that are used at the elementary level. So as we talk about building thinking classrooms, those are the same strategies that students are experiencing at the elementary level, where they elevate the role of discourse, discussion, student thinking, problem solving, and those elements and those translate into the middle school level as well. So part of what we're seeing is our staff adapting to ways of helping increase student understanding of not just rote math, but the way math works. But COVID has had a definite impact both in language arts and in math.
Can I add something? I can't help myself when we talk about instruction. Um, I think the other thing to think about is oftentimes we don't think about the relationship between the amount of reading that's required for math. And so one of the things that we're excited about is the adolescent literacy framework that's new, and Tim's working really hard with principals and staff on that. But a component of that is work with like math teachers about how to teach literacy within a math instructional block. And so that partnership is something that I personally am super excited to hear, not only for math, but for science, for social studies, for other core content areas where teachers are building some skill in how to support students with their reading overall. And our COVID babies are in middle school. And so that's certainly support that they need because it's impacting their access to content.
You can all sigh because I have a couple of lines of questions and I don't know if they'll be short. But I wondered if you could bring up the kindergarten reading chart, the bar graph.
Sarah can.
And while she's doing that, is there a kind of a overview of what the green block, either green block, would represent in a kindergartner's understanding of reading?
Oh, are you, because,
Yeah, let's go back one more.
Yeah, back one because of the kindergarten, the one where there are
Sarah,
no
can you
red
go back one
blocks.
more for us? There we go.
Yeah, so what do the green
we
block?
wanted to go to reading, right?
Yeah.
We're trying.
Oh, yeah, I don't read
There.
titles.
One more.
Sorry to do this, but what would those green blocks represent?
For kindergarten.
Just from a skill standpoint, is there any kind of brief like context for me? Is that a certain number of sight words, for example, or
Pardon me?
what would constitute
Yeah,
what would a
so-
kindergartner need to do in order to get in the green blocks?
Okay, so yeah, so they're being measured on their phonological awareness, like how they can hear sounds in speech, letter sounds, and basic decoding skills.
What the decoding skills? Yeah, I'm going to ask you this every time you present.
Reading a word, like being able to take the letter sounds in a word and read what the word says, and then being able to read sentences and answer some questions related to sentences as well. But all the way down to phonological awarenesses, which being able to understand that the word cat is made up of the sounds cat. That's a big piece of reading in kindergarten.
Yeah. Okay. But a kindergarten is not necessarily, I don't know, would the test then ask them, cat, how many distinct sounds are there in the word cat? Or is it not that technical for
It'll be more game based and it
Okay.
wouldn't ask the question in like that technical way.
I'm just, we're not the only district with this presentation. So 80% of our kindergartners enter without reading skills. And that is not, there's bullets that, there are, arrows that we shoot as communities, sometimes indiscriminately. And one of them is we tend to do it to public education. We see these flat lines and we point at public education. But I'm here to say very loudly, that's a public health crisis. That is a what's happening in the home before kindergarten to help kids get ready. That's the issue. And educators aren't allowed to say that very often. Educators get to take all the punches in those conversations. And I'm telling you, that is a family and a social issue that needs strong, powerful people to understand collaboratively. Because the third grade chart is going to be the third grade chart. And one thing that I know that we learned from COVID, because we learned it at Hurricane Katrina and we've learned it in every global disaster ever, is that when you have something that disruptive and that prolonged, that the issue isn't the green blocks. The green blocks are going to continue to grow because many of them, and this isn't exclusive, have the social supports to continue to grow. But that wedge in the middle where the reds are climbing and the greens are, that's what's destructive. And that's what uniquely public education is being asked to solve. And it's not just a public education problem is what I'm trying to get at. That's me shaking a fist at the clouds, but more and more, there are things we deserve. There are badges that we deserve to wear. Not always this one. And so anyway, I appreciate that information. I will say contextually it'd be very valuable. Shoot, I'd be almost up for just seeing what does an exam look like? What does that game look like for a kindergartner? I'd be interested in a little additional study. I had another comment, but
Holly's
Can I add something? It's kind of along the lines of what you were saying. I was just going to point out, when you look at the cohort, or whatever you want to call it, kindergarten from 2024, and then first grade 2024 on this slide that Blake was looking at, and then second grade. The other thing that really stands out to me is that each year at the beginning of the year, because these are our initial results, right? First in September, is the red section grows every year. And that, just to translate that for the public and those listening, like that means that each year the same group of students that we had in first grade come into second grade at a lower level than they were at when they came into first grade. That's learning loss over the summer. That's, like Blake said, that's work not happening at home. Sometimes that could be summer school. I mean, there's obviously lots of things, but that is then hard to make up during the school year because you're starting further behind, and that's climbing each year. So I don't know what kind of discussion we can have about any supports that we can help with that. But it's a plea to the community too. Like, we need parent partnership to help your kids get educated. And so I just want that to be clear from these slides, if I could. So
Our teachers are working really hard on reading skills in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, through a literacy program that we use. And I would love for you to come see what's happening in classrooms. It's pretty amazing.
And I know it is. That's part of my very rambling defense of the institution. I believe strongly in what our teachers are doing. And I'm really grateful that the state went to a more phonetic approach to instruction. Right. Yeah, I'm saying the right words.
Good job.
But my other line of question, and it's not something to flesh out today, but our focus is rightly on the red blocks, and reducing those. But I also have some concerns, and I've expressed them before, of what's happening inside those green blocks. And so I would just like to know that that information is being disaggregated, and we're continuing to see growth at a student level within those blocks, and not disengagement from a lack of rigor. Because at the same time that we're trying to catch folks in the sixth grade who missed fundamental fifth grade skills, you're catching sixth graders who have seventh grade skills who are listening to the same block of instruction. And so I think just any kind of, not necessarily at the anecdotal level, but any kind of information in the future that would indicate what's happening inside those green blocks to make sure we're providing the rigor appropriate for those kids to grow.
Did you want me to comment on that, or? Oh, I just like, given the data that we're looking at, when a student participates in those phonics or the decoding skills portion of their day, when they go read their decodable reader that goes along with that text, if students are already reading that text fluently, then they can differentiate into a different reader, a different book. So they're not being held back by the decodable that they can read. And then the students who need to practice that decodable are spending more time practicing that decodable. So we're at a level with our instruction where we're able to focus on differentiating those texts for students and having them engage in different levels of text at that portion of their phonics lesson.
So if a parent comes to me and says, my child's bored, I should say that you should talk to their teacher about differentiation. Is that how I should direct them?
Yeah, that's
okay.
A good response.
Sounds good. I'm going to get all the lingo down by the
You
end
are.
of this.
You are.
12 years. Yeah. Any other discussion?
Just one, kind of still on your kindergarten question sort of thing. Especially as we were coming out of COVID, and coming out of where students were at home. But are we tracking the number of expected kindergarten kids we should have compared to the number of first graders who show up, which would indicate we have kindergartners who aren't actually coming to school because they're not required to in Oregon. They don't have to be here. So does that do anything to our data where the students are just not here and then they show up in first grade, or they're inconsistent in their attendance as kindergartners? Is that something that we're seeing, or is that John's ready to answer?
John's ready to, he's ready over there.
Keep in mind, it's 9:48.
We will.
All right. There's kind of three answers to your question. So kindergarten, we start the year, and this has been a trend for 3 years now, 4 years. I didn't track it before then, but I suspect it's been a long-term trend. We'll start the year with 630, 640. We'll end the year with 680, 690. And give me a plus or minus 10 or 15 on that too. I'd have to go back and look. So we gain kindergartners over the year, whether they're coming in mid-year from the community, moving into the community. I haven't broken that out. So that could affect performance. Also, this is a trend that is long-standing. K through 2 have lower attendance than 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you see this low here, a bell up in those older years, and then it dips back down in secondary and high school. That is a long-standing trend. So if you combine kids not coming to school or until later, and then you combine that lack of attendance for kinder and first grade, and then combine it with staff who get sick and that continuity of instruction, it has a huge impact on learning at kinder and first grade. So there's a few things that we do need. Moms and dads get them to school more often, although kids do get sick more often. And as we keep working with staff to improve attendance, that should improve continuity of instruction, and it should help the efforts that we're doing with ECRI.
And I'll just put a plug in for reading at home, because there's less reading at home happening across the board. And that is a huge factor for developing reading skills.
And I just want to add to your point, Blake, that it is environmental is very huge in the scores and tests that we see, the environmental factors, what's happening at home. In the course I'm taking, there's something called proximal and distal. And so that proximal support being the parent, or the uncle or the aunt or whoever's in that household, they really need to step up and give that support to the student to help them be more effective at school. So environmental factors is very, very high on this.
Holly, your hand's raised.
If she
No.
just didn't put it back down.
I just hadn't put my hand down. My bad.
All right. Any other, I really appreciate the report. Can I say what I appreciate the most is a willingness to say, this is what the data is. These are our strategies, but most important, these are what the data is and not ever. I appreciate that transparency. So.
Tim and Heidi and their teams are working their tails off around instruction and improving it across the board. All of our ILT has been really focused and very aligned in how we approach this, and really having aligned practice with the systems work that Michelle has talked about is really part of the key. And the other layer of that is we've got to own our data, right? We have to be looking at our data and knowing what's working and what's not, and making adjustments as we go. It's all those things working together, but ILT works their tail off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad we powered through. And next up is a financial update. No bailout on this one, Pete. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you can tell us what we should look at.
Chair Peterson, honorable members of the board. The blurb that's in section 23 financial update sums it up fairly well. So I'll just read that real quick. The September payroll and associated benefits costs have been recorded. They're higher per month than anticipated. Without another month to compare to, they provide some indicators, but are not as robust as a multi-month analysis of payroll trends. If current expenses and revenues remain at the pace of September, the district will end the year with less ending fund balance than was budgeted. So basically, my analogy for this is we've got 1 point, and I'm drawing a line. When I have 2 points, I can draw a much more accurate line. So I'm waiting for that second point to fully materialize, but we already have some good data, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to dive into any of those numbers on that presentation.
Yeah, and before, happy for the board to ask any questions, but I would say we're going to be talking about this much more at the November work session. And so that might be a chance to review the data and communicate with the team in advance of that. But any questions that you'd like to address right now? All right, thanks, Pete.
Great.
All right, we have some future board agenda topics that are listed there that we're working on incorporating into agenda items. We made it to 10 o'clock tonight, so you can see how much we're trying to pack into our meetings. Announcements, we have Gresham High School playoff football game tomorrow night, Summit High School, 7 p.m. But we also, as a board, will have November 20th, we'll be at the library, North Gresham Elementary, for a board work session at 6 p.m. And on December 11th, we'll be right here for a board, regular board business meeting. And we may need to, yeah. Anyway, we'll communicate if any of that changes. But all right, with that, there being no other business before the board, we're adjourned.